Hey, in today's video I'm going to be talking about how to find your style in photography. I can't remember who, so apologies in advance, and I can't find the message, but somebody somewhere asked me to talk about how you find your style. And I think it's a great question because it's something that we all struggle with and we all worry about from time to time, and the honest answer is, and it's not one people are going to like, is that it takes time. And when I say time, I mean years as in decades. It's one of those things that you don't just discover, you don't just go, here's my style, let's go for it, or I like the style that this person here is doing, we're going to copy that, it's all going to be good. It doesn't really work like that. But there are a few things that I can sort of give you to help point you in the right direction. So with photography, everybody can be a technically good photographer, and the difference between those who are successful and those who aren't often comes down to taste, and it's what they believe looks best. And I don't like to say there's a right and wrong answer, but there's a more popular answer. So certain people's taste is more popular in the mainstream, and if they have that taste and they inherently and truly believe in that particular taste and style of work, they will go far. Whereas if you think that your images look really great but perhaps it's not quite going down the mainstream, you're going to really struggle in photography. That being said, finding your style is something you will have to do, but it's not something you really need to specifically work at. It'll sort of come together as a conglomeration? I can't think of the word. Someone correct me in the comments. But it'll all come together. That's a better way to say it. So the first thing you really need to be aware of is your perspective on the world and how you see the world and what you believe to be the vision or your vision or the vision that you're going for. And it doesn't matter whether you're taking portrait, street photography, wedding photography or food photography like myself. You need to have some sort of point of perspective, which is what you're trying to portray through your images. And I think thinking about that will help you find a style. You know, what are you trying to say? What's your background? What are all the events in your life leading up to this point which says this image will look like this? And it might seem like we're just taking a picture, but you're not. When I'm taking food pictures, I'm pulling back in my memory to when I've eaten the food, where I've eaten it, how it felt, what I believe that looks like, and then I've put it into an image. And I don't go through that thought process in my head, it's just something which naturally happens, and it'll be the same for you. But if every now and again you sit down and take stock of these things, it really helps guide you in the right direction. And self-awareness is really important in this too. And self-awareness is something I'm going to try and make a video about, and I've already said this before, but it's very difficult to come up with a way to put it out there. But self-awareness is key, so you need to know what looks good. And I've had people come up to me before and go, I don't like the way you've done that image, and I just think, well, that looks better than what you're suggesting. Might be right, might be wrong, but you need to know what you think looks good and whether you're doing it or not, because they're two different things. When I started out, I thought Annie Leibovitz's late 90s portrait work was brilliant, and that's how portraits should look. I was trying to do it, but failing miserably, and I didn't have the self-awareness to go, yeah, that's not what I'm doing here. So self-awareness is really important. And then mixed in with this comes the consistency, and this is across the board in photography. You have to be consistent, and that's not in terms of producing the same image over and over again, because that's not going to help you at all. But you have to be consistent in taking images. You have to repeatedly take images over years and over decades until the style sort of evolves itself. And it should get to a point where, so for example, when I take a behind the scenes image, I know exactly how I'm going to frame it. I know what the image is going to be before I take it. And whenever I ask anybody else to do a behind the scenes shot for me, I'm disappointed because it's not what I think the behind the scenes shot should look like. And once you get to the point where you go, this is what it should look like, I know what it should look like, that's when your style starts to emerge. So whenever I do my black and white edits, they always have a particular black point, and I know exactly where that's going to sit. I know where the white point's going to sit. I understand the texture I'm going to create through the clarity, through the sharpening, and through the way that I pull in the midtones. All these things create a style, but I got there from doing a decade of behind the scenes shots and shoots. When I shoot my food work, I understand that everything that I'm going to do is going to be a certain way because it's what I believe looks best. And I've got to that point from absorbing things from around me, taking experiences I've had throughout my life, and mixing it in with my technical know-how until I go, well, of course, this image will look like this. This is the only image I can see here. And it's almost like when you go to buy a camera and you've narrowed it down to that final choice. By the time you take your image, there should be no other options. When I edit my images, I'm not going, I wonder what this is going to look like. I know what it's going to look like in post-production before I've even taken the shot. Because I've got the experience and, you know, the well over 10,000 hours now, but the probably nearly 100,000 hours over longer than a decade of taking images and now knowing exactly what I'm going to produce before I turn up on the day. And this is when your style starts to come in, because there are no other options. There is no other answer to the question of what will the photo be, because inherently it has to be this one particular thing. Now, 10 of us might get together and take the same shot completely differently, and that's when you then see our own styles coming into play, because we all have this belief of what it should look like, how we'll approach it, down to the equipment we choose, the lighting we choose. But there's so much more than that outside of photography. It's who we are as people, which gives us our style. So I hope that's of use. It's not really a quick fix answer. It's not something you can go and do over the weekend, but at least it will give you an idea as to how you're going to get there and the steps you need to take over the next 10, 20 years to build yourself an individual style. So when people see your work, they go, that work was taken by, insert your name here. I hope these videos are useful for you. I hope you're enjoying them so far. Daily videos is way harder than I thought, but I'm going to continue through September. And then I've got a whole new schedule I'm planning of 3 different videos per week, and they'll sort of roll on in a sort of TV schedule kind of manner. So it might be Mondays will be how-tos, Wednesdays will be business advice, and Fridays will be something I don't know. Well, I do know, but I'm not telling you yet. I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.